Welcome to a Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings film review. I'm Ajay and this video will cover the Steelers' Week 10 28-27 victory in Washington, D.C. against the Commanders. Thanks to all of you that are following along. We have Chiefs film reviews after every Chiefs game, Steelers film reviews after every Steelers game, and we have a weekly podcast that we put out, the video version here on the YouTube channel, and the audio versions available wherever you download podcasts. We're also on social media at STCF715. We're on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. We post clips from our videos, and we discuss the week's games on Twitter after the Chiefs and Steelers games. As always, these film breakdowns are split up into chapters. We break them up by each play. So if there's a particular play you're looking for, you can scroll through and see if you can find it to get the breakdown of that specific play. But let's get into it. We are on the third drive of the game. There's 8:33 to go in the first quarter, and the Steelers are moving. Both teams punted in their first drive, and the Steelers now have 2nd and 10 at the 16-yard line. The Steelers are in 12 personnel. They've got one running back here on the field, and they've got two tight ends. Here's Donnell Washington, and here's Pat Freiermuth. They've got two wide receivers bunched here over on the right. Looks like Van Jefferson and George Pickens. All right, so what are the Steelers going to do here on this play? The main goal of this play here is to try to isolate George Pickens on a corner route. And the way that they do it against, if you see here, the Commanders are playing basically a cover one man with a little bit of a switch responsibility, and we'll get to that in a second. So Freiermuth's going to come underneath. Washington is going to come running over. Pickens is going to go to the corner, and Jefferson is going to go on a short out route. And so the main thing that is done by this route combination that proves important is that Washington coming on the over occupies the safety in the middle of the field. And so this allows Pickens to be one-on-one on the corner as he goes to the outside. If you notice, the Commanders appear to be generally manned up, right? They've got man-to-man. But they actually, so this, what it looks like here is your one deep safety, and this is your robber. But they actually kind of pass off man responsibilities on these cross routes that cross each other to kind of make it a seamless transition. Because, running across the field in man is, one of the most difficult things for a corner. Oftentimes that's where they get caught up and they, get behind in coverage. So one way to combat that is to pass off routes. So if you look at him and him, as Freiermuth comes underneath and Washington goes back over, they switch. So he ends up taking Freiermuth, and as Washington comes over, he starts following Washington. So they just swap those responsibilities to kind of help negate the advantage of having these crossers go over each other. But like we said, Washington's route ends up drawing the safety, which is crucial here because it allows Pickens to go one-on-one up to the corner. If you see here, Wilson's already releasing the ball. So Wilson at this point has dropped back and he's making the decision to throw. He knows he doesn't have to worry about the safety. He knows where Pickens is going, and he just puts the ball out in the end zone. Pickens goes up to get it, and what a spectacular catch he makes. Look at, what an athlete George Pickens is. He's able to go up and just snag that ball. So I have a couple things to say about this throw from Russell Wilson. I will both praise and critique him in this evaluation. First of all, this is definitely an overthrown ball, right? There is no reason why your receiver should have to do this to catch the ball one-on-one. Like, look how far back he extends to catch this ball. For most receivers, this is not a catchable ball. George Pickens is just incredible. So on one hand, you'd like to see a better throw, but the thing I do like, and it paid off for him here, is when you've got a guy come into the corner like this, who's an athletic ball-winning receiver, you don't have to worry about putting it on a dime and hitting him in stride. Just get it up there and give him a chance to win. I think what happens sometimes with quarterbacks in these positions is they'll just try to throw a pinpoint pass, and if you miss it, then it becomes really hard for the receiver to make a play. Wilson, already has this often discussed now moonball trajectory on his passes, so this kind of lends itself to these throws, but he also does a good job of just putting it in an area where the receiver can go up and get it. And when you have guys like George Pickens who are ball winners, they can come down with the catch, even if you make an inaccurate throw, like in this situation. So let's see the throw here from this perspective. Wilson does a good job, if you notice, when he's starting, his eyes are on Washington. So he's holding this safety. And Wilson, this shows up on film, he repeatedly does a very good job of this, holding the safety, and then at the last second he goes over to the right and throws it up there. And again, like this throw, it's possible, here I am talking about the inaccurate pass. It is possible that since there is nobody in the end zone, he expected that Pickens, if you watch the trajectory of how Pickens is running, see how he's running in this direction. It's possible he expected Pickens to take this route a little farther up. Because if you notice, let's run it back here just a second. If you notice here, Wilson is throwing before Pickens has made his break, right? So it's definitely possible before, here I was talking about how inaccurate of a throw this was, and it was an overthrow, but the throw doesn't look nearly as bad if instead of coming as flat as he did, you see right now Pickens is starting to correct up the field. If Pickens had started with a trajectory like that, this would not have looked as inaccurate. So it's possible, and this might be easier to see on this side, that see how Pickens breaks this out here. It's possible Wilson, having thrown the ball already, was anticipating the break would be more like that, since he has, in that case, this isn't nearly as bad of a throw as it looks like. So maybe I should give Wilson a little more the benefit of the doubt. We don't know exactly what he was expecting Pickens to do there. In any case, it was an awesome catch for a touchdown, and the Steelers went up 7-0 in the first quarter. All right, we jump ahead to 7:29 to go in the first quarter. The Commanders with the ball, and they're already facing a third down. This is a 3rd and 3, just inside their 37-yard line. So the Commanders look like they are in 11 personnel. Got one running back here and then tight end here. They got 3 wide receivers. The Steelers have answered here in their nickel set. They've got 5 defensive backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they've got 2 linebackers in here. So what the Commanders try to do on this third down is they run a man-beating concept. They are going to have just a go route here on the outside, and then as they come out, they're going to have, out of this bunch, he's going to go out long, he's going to run it over, and he's going to run a drag underneath, trying to make the Steelers chase in man coverage. The Steelers are in man coverage, as I said. They're going to run cover 1 man, so they've got Minka deep, and instead of having a robber underneath, they're going to blitz Patrick Queen. He would have been the underneath defender. So everybody else is manned up. So as you see out of the bunch, over here, we've got man-to-man here, man-to-man here, man-to-man there, man-to-man here. And here, Peyton Wilson is responsible for the running back. Everybody else is rushing. So first to look at the coverage, pretty sticky in coverage here. You might argue that he's got a half a step. This throw is there, especially without an underneath robber. That's probably the throw that one would hope Daniels would make. He doesn't have a ton of time, though, because the pocket collapses pretty quickly. But everybody else is quite well covered, right? There's no other throw that's really available here. This is the one potential on the drag, and you see it as Daniels drops and hits the back of his drop right here. That's a potential throw on a 3rd and 3. He does have the linebacker Peyton Wilson a little bit in his way, and one could argue maybe that he's worried about Wilson jumping and interfering with that pass, but otherwise the coverage is really good. And then because the Steelers are rushing 5, they basically have a blocker to a rusher. Highsmith and Watt both try to come around the edge, and the interior just power rushes straight up. And you want to watch Cam Heyward. Cam Heyward just absolutely walks the guard back into Jaden Daniels' lap. And because of this, when Highsmith and Watt are able to come around the corner, Daniels has nowhere to step up. He does have a potential escape route if he could take it through the B gap on the right, but that's really about it. And that all happens very quickly. He would have had to make the decision to run like right here in the split second. So there's not really anything realistically he can do, because this man, Cam Heyward, has just absolutely blown up this play. He walks the guard back, and then he ends up collecting the sack. A great stop by the Steelers to get off the field on 3rd and 3. So you can see it here from the end zone view. This is the man to watch right there. He just comes right into the guard. Look at that long arm right there, and just pushes him straight back. Cam Heyward at 35, still getting it done at a really high level, and this forced a Commanders punt. Now we're at 5:16 to go in the fourth quarter. 5:16 to go in the first quarter, and the Steelers have just gone 3 and out after getting that punt from the Commanders. And we're about to talk about the play that was probably the most discussed, definitely the most discussed play on my Twitter feed for the first half of the early games, and maybe on Twitter, NFL Twitter in general. I felt like there was a ton of discourse about this play, so let's take a look at it. The Steelers are here in punt formation, and you want to pay attention up top here. The Commanders kind of try to sneak their gunner in right before the snap. It's actually a little reminiscent of in the Patriots-Dolphins Sunday Night Football game last year. The Patriots had a guy come off the edge like this inside to come up to block a field goal. And it looks like the Commanders are trying to do the same thing. They have their guy come in, and almost they're going to try to get a running start so he can come in and go right at the snap. Well, the Steelers clearly, as he starts coming in, if you want to look here at the up protector, he's clearly communicating something, and they check to a throw to this gunner who's wide open now. So they snap it and throw, and I mean, this is as lollipop of a play. They toss it up to the gunner. He's wide open. Pretty decent throw. He has to slow for it for a second, but this is just an easy catch, and he dropped it. So we'll look at it again from this vantage point. So you see signaling, makes a check. You can see they're trying to get this guy in right at the snap so he can get a running start, but they toss it outside. I mean, look at this. This is an extremely catchable pass. This is as easy as a catch as someone will have in the NFL. He had to slow a little bit. It's not like he was led, but this is such an easy catch, and he just dropped it. So the question comes in like, well, should the Steelers have called this fake punt or done a fake punt at this part of the field? And I mean, to me, the answer is yes. I mean, this is a gimme play. I know it's kind of hard to say, or it's weird to say because the worst possible outcome happened, but I feel like this is a very unlikely outcome. Someone to drop a wide open, uncontested, not on the run. This isn't a difficult catch. I think if you're able to get that easily to try to convert, I think you do it. To me, it's actually a low risk play with a fairly substantial easy reward, and it's just unfortunate that very rare, unfortunate, the worst case scenario happened here. I also think it's important to do because it's a deterrent. Otherwise, they're kind of outside guys can come in and rush. Teams will do that to you if you're going to just let them do that and leave your gunner wide open and not take advantage. So it could increase your chances of having punt blocked because teams will be emboldened to do this if you're not going to take advantage and throw it. So I don't have a problem with the call. It's unfortunate that such an easy pass was dropped and the Steelers ended up giving up a very short field to the Commanders, but I really don't think in that situation it's a bad thing to try. I think the Commanders were intentionally putting the Steelers in a tough spot there. They're going to rush their guy on the outside because they were like, well, will they actually throw this far in their territory? Well, they did, and unfortunately it didn't work out for them. But I don't really agree that there was a problem here with trying this. I think it was a very easy thing to try. They just didn't execute a very easy thing. We're now at 10:28 to go in the second quarter, and the Steelers have the ball in a 7-7 ball game. After the failed fake punt that we showed you, the Commanders came down and scored. Then after some trading of punts, the Steelers recovered a muffed punt and got a short field, and here we are now. They have a 3rd and goal with the game tied at 7. So let's see how the Steelers are going to attack this. The Steelers are at 11 personnel. They've got running back Jaylen Warren, tight end Pat Freiermuth, and then on the same side, they have Pickens and Jefferson lined up with Freiermuth, and they have Calvin Austin as the kind of ISO set on the left side. And so what the Steelers are going to do is they're going to run a curl flat right here. So really Jefferson is running like a rub route for Freiermuth. Pickens is going to go over to the corner. And on this side of the field, Austin is running a fade, and Jaylen Warren is just going to come out. But to start, I want to pay special attention to this Jefferson-Freiermuth kind of pick combination, because this is what ultimately makes the play happen. So as you see, Jefferson's coming on the curl, Freiermuth, he's setting the pick, and Freiermuth is going to the flat. But before we kind of analyze Jefferson's technique here on the pick, I want to show you a clip from the Week 2 film review of the Steelers-Broncos game. So let's check out that clip first. So as Jefferson comes up to set his pick right here, he's done his job already. He's gotten in the way, and Pickens is at full tilt, ready to go. Like, he's done enough to get a touchdown. Unfortunately, he carries through and drives through the defenders in a way that's going to draw a flag for offensive pass interference. But in order to set a good pick, you don't have to contact the defender. You just have to get in the way. If he stops here, just get in the way, allow Pickens to come out and make this catch. That would be a touchdown. That's it. This last bit here was completely unnecessary, driving into the defender and drawing the flag. He should have just gotten in the way and let the defender have to run around him in order to get to Pickens. That would have been it. The pick was done. That extra bit right there is what drew the flag, and that's unfortunate. All right, so at that point, Jefferson got called for offensive pass interference, and basically the idea at that time was like, you don't have to contact the defender. You're running a curl. You just have to get in the way, and I'll make the defender run around you. Now let's watch how Jefferson sets the pick here in this game. Jefferson's going to come up. He sets, and he just lets Freiermuth run off his shoulder. This is like an NBA pick. Just let him run off his shoulder. Jefferson doesn't touch anybody, and Freiermuth goes in for the score. So it's a nice adjustment that Van Jefferson made on this concept that, whereas in the Broncos game, he just went up and went straight into, at that time it was Pickens' defender. This time he realized you don't have to do that. He just kind of stands in, gets in the way, let Freiermuth go, and score a touchdown. Really well executed, and it's nice to see that, the Steelers players are making adjustments based on things that have happened in the past. And he's taking it out of the ref's hands. Nobody's going to call offensive pass interference if you don't make any contact. Well executed play, and the Steelers get a touchdown to go up 14-7. Now we jump ahead to 8:59 to go in the second quarter, and the Commanders have a 2nd and 12 at the Steelers' 28-yard line. The Commanders here, we're now in a 14-7 game. The Steelers up 14-7 and the Commanders are driving, and they come out on the 2nd and 12 in a 12 personnel look, meaning they have one running back, they've got two tight ends. I think this is a very creative play that they called here. It's really interesting what Cliff Kingsbury's cooking up. Let's start by looking at the offensive line to see kind of how they handled this. So what they're going to do with their line, they're going to pull the right tackle and the right guard. So the inside tight end is going to try to seal off the tackle here. The outside tight end is going to come out to lead block. The tackle is going to come and try to seal the other side, hit TJ Watt to create a gap. And then the guard is going to pull through the hole to try to come after the linebacker. So if we watch this in action, the tight end kind of whips past Watt because he's going to come up here. The inside tight end has started sealing the tackle. The offensive tackle is here to get Watt, and then the guard is going to pull through and come to try to block Elandon Roberts. And this is blocked up really well. They get a hat on a hat for everybody. The one unblocked player in this play is Patrick Queen. And in order to try to account for him, they actually have another kind of creative action. So on the other side of this play is actually an RPO. So Jaden Daniels has the opportunity to decide if he's going to hand this ball off. Right here is his decision point. He's going to decide if he's going to hand this ball off or if he's going to throw a pass. And he's got two receivers. So the first guy that went on his jet sweep motion over here, he's waiting in the flat. And then he's got McLaurin running a slant too. So if Daniels likes the look for the pass, or doesn't like the look for the run, he can hold this ball and throw. But if he likes the numbers that they have in the run game, then he can hand this ball off on the run play. The hope is that Patrick Queen gets at least stopped in his tracks by either the fear of the pass or this kind of zone read action, which always runs the risk that, the quarterback's actually holding this and planning to run, especially someone who's as good of a runner as Jaden Daniels. So the goal is that they hope to make Queen hesitate enough that he can't influence this play. But what ends up happening, they hand it off, and Queen just keys on this so fast. Look how quickly Queen gets in here. Flies right in and makes this tackle. Because imagine Patrick Queen is just a couple steps late here. Look at how well this is blocked. If the running back is able to hit this gap, or if Queen were way behind and the running back was able to cut it up right here, there is just daylight almost all the way to the end zone. You're basically requiring Minkah Fitzpatrick to save a touchdown. So Patrick Queen's ability, and let's watch it in real time. Just watch how quickly he keys on this. He's seeing things so well, and he's so fast. Close the gap, boom. Tackles the running back for a loss and completely blows up that play. It was such a nice, cool, creative play, and it shows how sometimes a great play can be ruined by a great player. Man, just so fast. And he was all over the place during this game, coming up and making huge plays. So let's watch Queen again. You can really get a picture of how interesting this play setup was. So here we are running him over here, which helps get a defender out of the picture. So remember, where he's blocking up here, he's going to release. He's going to come and kick out TJ Watt, and then he's going to come through the gap and try to get Elandon Roberts. So ultimately his guy he's trying to block is here. So you get a hat on a hat. Look, everybody's blocked up. The tight end, you can't see him in the picture, but he's going to come get Elliott. It's just Patrick Queen, and Patrick Queen makes him pay. He gets in there, makes a huge tackle for a loss. Queen had a really great day, and this was an example of it, just completely blowing up a very interestingly designed play. Now we've got 5:39 to go in the second quarter. It's a 14-10 Steelers lead at this point, and the Commanders are starting a drive here at their own 6-yard line. And I really had to include this play just to get a really good picture of how Patrick Queen played in this game against the run. I think he is just such a weapon. He's so fast. So the Commanders here on first down are going to just run a quarterback keeper with a play action. So the play is designed, if you look here, they're faking the handoff to Eckler and trying to get the linebackers to come up and commit. Then they're trying to they send the tight end up here to block here, and everybody else, they just set it up so that they try to get the backers to commit up into the formation. Daniels fakes the handoff, and he's going to try to get around the edge. And if they feel like if they block this guy up, they can have a huge gain down the sideline. As the kind of strength of their formation is all over here, they've got all the defenders on this side of the field. Faking the handoff up the middle will hopefully occupy the linebackers enough to then allow Daniels to go. Well, it's a great idea, and Daniels is a great athlete, but so is Patrick Queen. And look at him run Jaden Daniels down. I mean, Daniels has no hope to get to the edge. I mean, he's so fast the way he gets to the sideline. Like, I really can't remember seeing a linebacker be this capable of just running a guy down. I know Fred Warner is really fast, but this is really something. I mean, I never thought I'd see, because if you kind of screenshot this here and you're like, hey, what do you think about Jaden Daniels' chances of breaking a big one here? I mean, you'd feel pretty good about it, but Queen just runs him down, cuts it to a 4-yard gain. So let's watch it here from the end zone view. So Highsmith's coming inside. Definitely, there's no reason to hand this ball, right? Because the time that you would hand this ball off was, they don't even have like an unblocked defender, but when you're reading kind of the edge defender, the only time to hand this ball off is if you have someone that's preventing the quarterback from running here. Right now, all the traffic is in the center, so this is definitely a situation where you're keeping it. And I think it looks from the play design that it's designed to be that way, that I don't know that this is actually a read more than just a play action. But look at where, Queen is in the middle of the muck when Jaden Daniels starts going. And look at how quickly he's able to get out on a line and just make it so there's no chance for an explosive play here. If Queen is even a couple steps slower, he doesn't have to flatten this out, and he's able to take this or even at an angle like this. And this is a completely different ballgame. He's thinking about whether he can outrun Minka at that point. But Queen just runs him down. What an incredibly athletic play by Patrick Queen. That's really fantastic. The first play of the second quarter, and the Commanders were at halftime up 17-14. So they're coming out now in the second half. First play of the third quarter, up 17-14. They are going to line up here, and they look to be at 11 personnel. I'm not going to lie, I don't know their personnel very well, but these three definitely look like they're wide receivers. So got one running back and one tight end, giving us 11 personnel. And they are going to run an RPO very similar to the one we saw where they handed off to Eckler and Patrick Queen came down and made a stop. Well, they're going to do a similar thing. They don't pull anybody this time, but they are definitely run blocking for a run over to the right. And on the backside, they've got the slant flat combination again. The last time it was a guy coming over on a jet sweep that provided the flat. This time it's just from the slot. But they get the slant flat. And, we saw the Steelers, Patrick Queen, really key on the run last time. And he did it again, and this time Daniels keeps it and he throws the slant behind. And now that the linebacker has completely vacated this area, he's got a very clean path to throw a slant to McLaurin. And they get a nice chunk play here. It looks like it's going to be about 10 to 15 yards. But to add insult to injury, Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is the deep safety here, takes a poor angle. And McLaurin's able to cut it up, and Fitzpatrick can't recover and make the tackle. I mean, the one thing you can't do in this situation as Fitzpatrick is let him get up the field. Like this angle, if he, instead of coming down so hard, just flattens out a little bit, you've got help over here. I think he's playing that part of it well, right? He's not trying to let him get inside of him because he's got help outside, but you also can't let him get down the field. He played this so flat coming over instead of keeping his depth compared to McLaurin, that McLaurin was able to artfully cut this up inside, and look at how many more yards he was able to get. He got all the way down to the 17-yard line, where one would have hoped that Minkah and Porter could get him down somewhere between the 45 and the 50. So an unfortunate play by Minkah, a nice play design on the RPO, and they're kind of seeing that the Steelers linebackers, particularly Queen, is really keying on the run very well. All right, well, let's show him run and throw it to our best receiver on a slant in the area he vacated. Our best receiver is able to get past the poor angle of the safety, and they get a huge play for 54 yards. You can see it here from this viewpoint. So this is what Queen's looking at right here. The line's run blocking. Here's the run action. They're setting it up to be a run over to the right. Queen's coming up, ready to play the run, and Jaden Daniels holds it and throws the slant. And here, like, look at this. You cannot give him this alley. Absolutely cannot. Like, you've got to get more depth. Even if that results in getting him getting, up to the 50-yard line, that's fine. But what you can't let is him to get past you and then go all the way down to the 17. Big play for the Commanders, and they ended up scoring a touchdown off of this drive after the huge chunk play. So suddenly they go up 24-14. We move along now to 10:10 to go in the third quarter. Steelers down 24-14. Trying to drive and answer with a score, but they took a big sack on first down and now have 2nd and 20. So the Steelers come out in an interesting formation. I guess it really depends on what you consider Cordarrelle Patterson to be. Cordarrelle Patterson is either a running back or a wide receiver. If you call him a running back, then this is technically 21 personnel because Jaylen Warren is down here, running back. Patterson would be a running back. That's 2, and then the 1 tight end, so 21. If you want to call him Cordarrelle Patterson a wide receiver here, then it's 11 personnel because you'd have the 1 running back, Jaylen Warren down here, and the tight end, Pat Freiermuth. So what the Steelers end up trying to do in this situation, they kind of run deeper slants as they're getting off coverage. So if you look at the coverage, it kind of looks like a middle of the field open coverage, so cover 1 and cover 3 are considered like middle of the field closed coverage because you have one person, a deep safety, sitting in the middle of the field. That's why it's closed. Middle of the field open coverage are like cover 2, where you have 2 safeties going deep, or cover 4, quarters coverage, where you have like 4 people just drop back and take quarters, but no one's really just like sitting and responsible for the middle of the field. So this looks like a middle of the field open coverage. It looks like it could either be cover 4 or cover 2 based on how they align. What it ends up being actually is a middle of the field closed coverage. It looks like cover 3. Although I guess it's possible that this is a cover 4 too. It's a little difficult to tell, but to me this looks like it's cover 3 with these 3 guys responsible for deep, and then you have shallow. In any case, with these kind of more off coverages that the Steelers have been getting, this seemed to be a theme, and this will come up later in the game too. Arthur Smith seemed to really like running Pickens on a slant, especially a little bit of a deeper slant against off coverage. And that's what they do here. So this play combination, Pickens ends up going about 10 yards and then cutting in for a slant. Patterson just sits on a curl. Jefferson ends up running a slant, and Freiermuth kind of comes out, and Warren just comes and sits. But with the coverage being off, as I think the nice thing about this route is that Pickens, his slant is deep, because oftentimes you run a slant here, but when you have zone coverage underneath, it's not a great option. The linebacker can sit on a slant route. But if you take like a deeper stem and then go out after about 10 yards, then you have a nice gap between the linebacker and your off defender, which is what Pickens utilizes here. And look at that window then that opens up for Russell Wilson to throw to. He's already ready to throw. This is nice by Arthur Smith, utilizing these kind of deeper slants for Pickens against off coverage. Easy way to get him the ball on the run, because once Pickens is on the move, he's one of the best receivers in the league at creating after the catch, and you can see that here. He breaks a couple tackles and ends up getting another more than 10, close to 15 yards after the catch. So the catch itself, they're starting at the 46-yard line. So when he makes the catch here, 46, right? Is that what I said? Yeah, from the 46. So this is almost like 15 yards right there when he makes the catch, right? Maybe like 13 yards. And then from the 34, oh wow, sorry, I was wrong here. He gets about almost 20 yards, right? From the 34 is where he catches that ball, or the 33, and he gets all the way down to about the 12 or 11. So yeah, another 20. So he gets more after the catch than actually on the slant. But Arthur Smith doing a really good job of utilizing Pickens here, taking advantage of the off coverage, because obviously they don't want to press him, because in previous games, Russell Wilson, when Pickens gets pressed, they just run him on a go route, and he's such a good ball winner that you're really worried about that. So play off coverage, we'll run slants, get him the ball on the move, allow him to create after the catch. Good play design, good execution, just get the ball to Pickens. Again, you can see the window that Wilson had to throw into. It's a nice window because of the depth of the slant. And then you can get it to Pickens on the move, and he's able to make guys miss. Get all the way down the field for a big gain here to try to set the Steelers up in the red zone. After that long pass to Pickens, the Steelers were able to get a touchdown to cut the lead to 24-21. Subsequently, the Commanders were able to get a field goal, so the score ended up 27-21 at this point, where we pick up the game now, the first play of the fourth quarter, and the Commanders have a 3rd and 15, just close to midfield. This is another creative Cliff Kingsbury play that ultimately gets snuffed out and is unsuccessful, partially due to heads up play by the Steelers, and I think a little bit due to indecision by the Commanders. So let's see this play design. They motion their back out. It doesn't, again, I'm not that familiar with Commanders personnel, but it looks like we have one running back. I don't think there's a tight end on the field. So this looks like 10 personnel. One running back, no tight end. So you got 4 wide receivers. And what they end up doing here is they snap it, and they get the 2 wide receivers and the running back to block, and they throw a pass out to Diami Brown. But it's not so simple, because Brown's not just taking this and going. If you noticed, as they threw this pass, the center left guard and left tackle kind of let their guys through and then shifted over to the left. And after Daniels throws the pass, watch him kind of try to sneak over behind. This is being set up as a throwback from Diami Brown back to Daniels. And Daniels will then have a convoy of blockers, and hopefully all the defenders will be over on this side. And I think they're trying to bust a huge gain back to Jaden Daniels. But ultimately what happens is that Highsmith, after he comes through, kind of hangs out right in front of. He clearly seems to sense that something's going on. And I think that's what causes Brown to be uncomfortable making this throw because of Highsmith's presence. And then by the time Daniels gets more clear of Highsmith, then Cam Heyward has come into the picture. And you think quarterbacks have trouble keeping their eye level up. When you give the ball to a wide receiver and ask him to throw a pass, a guy in his face is going to completely alter his ability to do that. So now he's just kind of on the run. And at this point, it's actually pretty smart that he didn't throw the pass because he actually is not eligible to throw a forward pass. Why is that? Because the Daniels pass to him right here, if you look at where this ball is released, this is released at the 41-yard line. And he catches it at the 44-ish. That's a forward pass. And you're only able to have one forward pass in a play. So when Brown gets the ball back here, if he were to throw this to Daniels, they have it set up here that he will throw this ball backwards. It needs to be a lateral in order for it to be a legal play. Then, so it looks like he's supposed to lateral it here, but Highsmith's in the way. Then he tries to bide his time a little bit, and then Heyward gets his attention. Now he's not even thinking about making a pass. Once he gets clear of Heyward, no, it's not clear this is going to be a lateral anymore, right? It's a little more hairy, and he ends up getting corralled and taken down for a huge loss. But a very creative idea, and if Highsmith hadn't been right here, I feel like this would have been very interesting. You've got these blockers ahead. Look at all the Steelers defenders are on this side of the field. If he was able to kind of lob one over there to Daniels, who could, as he's coming around, catch it somewhere around here and start going, could have been really interesting. Very interesting play design. It's reminiscent of the throwback that the 49ers used against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl to get their first touchdown to Christian McCaffrey. But this would have been even more interesting going to Jaden Daniels. It would have been interesting to see what he would have been able to do. But credit Highsmith, who is on the play entirely, even though initially is the only time he really blew it up. Watch what he does after that. He's going in there toward the blocker. He knows something's up. Highsmith is completely aware that something's going on over there. From this side you can see kind of motion, and then watch the line. The line is blocking like a screen pass, right? They kind of let guys through and they're going out there to get ready. Daniels threw his pass, and again he's trying to not attract much attention. But Brown's just never in a position where he feels comfortable making a pass, and he ends up being tackled for a huge loss. We now move ahead to 12:46 to go in the fourth quarter. The Steelers are still down 27-21, and they have a 3rd and 1. And they're at risk of going 3 and out here, fairly deep in their own territory. And for this play, they end up getting lined up here in 11 personnel. So they've got one running back and one tight end. And they end up motioning Calvin Austin over. So they have kind of a 2x2 set. And the Commanders end up playing cover 1, but they end up blitzing off the edge. So they end up not having an underneath defender, no robber defender. Everyone has to play man except for the single high safety. So we're manned up here. Wagner has got the running back. I know I just put that toward Wilson, but I meant to put it toward the running back. Manned up here. And this is, again, to kind of highlight that Arthur Smith, I think, called a really good game for the scenarios he was posed with. When teams have a middle of field safety, they're really hesitant, as we said, to press Pickens, because if Pickens goes deep, bad things could happen. So you got off coverage here, even on a 3rd down and 1. So that's a pretty, it's a lot of respect, right? Because in theory, like, if Wilson just stands up immediately when he gets the snap, Pickens just stands at this spot and he fires it over here, there's an okay chance that Pickens might be able to catch that ball and get a yard or two before the cornerback drives down. You know, if they do it, it's just kind of a quick pass out there. So that's a lot of respect you're giving him. But when they have off coverage, what do we say? Arthur Smith runs slants. So this is a more traditional 5-yard slant. So they, with the motion, may have been more comfortable that this is going to be man or suspected blitz and there wouldn't be anybody underneath. But clearly against a man coverage, they're running a shorter slant. Against that cover 3 zone, Pickens had taken it up and hit the slant to make sure that the dropping zone defender, there would still be a hole for him to get the ball into. You don't worry about that in man. So he runs a slant right here. Great antidote to off coverage. Wilson hits the slant for a 1st down. So Pickens really is putting defenses in a bind if they want to keep running single high, you know, because unless you're going to cheat a safety over to his side, if you're just going to have a man in the middle of the field, if you come up on him, he's going to try to run by you and make a contested catch down the field. If you drop off like this, he can run slants and he's dangerous after the catch. This case, they did a good job corralling him, but it was a big conversion. Here's the adjustment here. And Wilson, you know, he knows where he's going with this ball immediately. He looks in the middle immediately to try to hold the safety, but look, he just snaps his head over very quickly. Boom, hits the slant, 1st down. The Steelers actually had a good drive here. They managed to get all the way down the field, but then Jaylen Warren lost a fumble. And so Steelers were unable to capitalize and take the lead here. All right, so here we are now. We've got 2:22 to go in the game. The Steelers remain down 27-21. So when thinking about this game, you really have to give the Steelers defense a lot of credit. You know, Washington ended up going up 24-14 on their first drive of the 3rd quarter, and then they only scored 3 points for the rest of the game. So the defense has kept them at 27-21, but at this point, the Steelers have got to have it. They need a touchdown on this drive. There's only 2:22 to go in the game, and now they've got a 3rd and 9. So this is a must-have conversion here. 4-down territory, but really need a touchdown. So they come out lined up in 11 personnel. Jaylen Warren is the one running back. Freiermuth is the tight end. And then you see here, the Commanders look like they're, again, doing a middle-of-field open coverage. It looks like cover 2. And the Steelers' plan here is they're going to have Pickens run a corner, Jefferson running out, and Freiermuth out to the flat. So it kind of looks like a flood concept against the zone defense, actually. And on this side, they have Williams, the ISO guy, going long, and Warren coming out into the flat. It does kind of look like a play design that's anticipating a zone, but ultimately what they get is a cover 1 man. So Washington ends up blitzing off the edge here. So they end up sending 5. This safety ends up being responsible for Warren. And this safety comes back, and everybody's actually just manned up. And the blitz actually breaks through, and the safety is set up, as you'd expect, respecting Pickens, right, and his ability to go deep. So the safety is well on this side over on the other side of the hash. And so with this safety coming down responsible for Warren, Mike Williams is one-on-one, truly one-on-one on his go route. And Russell Wilson looks over, and he doesn't have a lot of time. So he makes a quick decision and he decides to give Mike Williams a chance. Lobs it up there. Williams goes and gets it, and that's a touchdown for the Steelers to give them the lead. Now, a couple of things I want to state about this play. First of all, this is another situation where, again, we've talked about it on the podcast. Deep ball accuracy is as much a receiver stat as it is a quarterback stat. Because watch how Wilson puts this ball up and watch Williams go and get it. So he's he's finding the ball, locating it. He's looking over his inside shoulder and the ball's going to come over to the outside. Watch him, even as he's running, he starts coming straight up the field, right? And then he kind of bends the outside to try to get a good release. And it looks like he's going to continue like more straight up the field, but he sees the ball and starts to mirror the trajectory. And look as he's going, how he's continuing to bend this route out to follow the flight of the ball as he's looking over his shoulder. I mean, he's a great ball tracker. And he's able to find it and get to it. I mean, I can tell you, like, having watched the Chiefs for the last couple years, like, this is not a trait that is there in, like, every receiver. The ability to kind of look at how he alters the route and gets underneath. That quality of tracking is rare. That is very, very good. So, yes, great decision to throw by Wilson. Great throw. But it's not like, I hate it when people are like, oh, he hit him right in stride. Like, Mike Williams went and got that ball. Like, yes, it's important that Wilson threw a great ball that was catchable. And he put it in a spot where Williams could run it down. The defender couldn't get to it. But Williams ran it down, and that's part of why it looks like such a perfect pass, is that he was able to find it and track it so well and score that touchdown. That's a great play from Mike Williams. And look at how quickly this pressure gets on Wilson. He's got to make that decision very quickly. And notice, like, it's not like he was able to step into this throw. So that, another reason to credit Wilson as well. Like, he's not able to step into this. He just gets it up there. And look at, I think this is a really underrated quality in receivers. Chris nailed this when we were talking about it on the podcast, how he's looking to the inside and the ball's coming over his outside shoulder, and he still manages to track it and get it. But also just look at the direction he's running. At this point, he's much more toward the vertical plane. And then watch as he takes steps, how he adjusts farther and farther outside to follow the trajectory of the ball and score. Amazing. Great play by Wilson and Williams, and suddenly the Steelers had the lead again for the first time in the second half. They're up 28-27. So the last play on this film review is going to be the last meaningful play from the game. The Commanders, now down 28-27, are driving to try to kick a game-winning field goal. Less than a minute and a half to go in the game, and the Commanders have a 4th and 9, so this play is for the game. They end up coming out in 11 personnel. They've got the running back out here and the tight end out here, and they both end up trying to chip help and then come out into the flat. They send their 2 outside wide receivers long, and the slot they have come up and sit right at the sticks to try to get that first down. The Steelers play a cover 3 shell, so they just go back. And they play this very conservatively. Even their underneath guys, they have way back deep. So they're giving up everything underneath and trying to come up and make the tackle. So here you go. You got the outside going deep. Tight end is pushing here and trying to get available right around the sticks. And Daniels throws it. And the tight end, he does what pass catchers are taught to do, right? He's coming back to the ball, but unfortunately in coming back to the ball, he sacrifices a little bit of position. And to make matters worse, again, not his fault. Like, it's just unfortunate. He goes to a knee to make the catch too, so that means the moment he's contacted, he's down. And it looks like he's got to get to the 41-yard line. You can see that knee is short. And where the ball is also looks like it's a hair short. And then he's contacted. So they end up turning the ball over on downs. I will say this is a great job by the Steelers here of just converging immediately. Because, in real time, this is really quick, right? Catch, boom. They did a great job, because, the receiver, he did what you're taught to do. He came back to the ball. He went down to the ground, secured the catch, but unfortunately, he's not able to advance the ball then. Even if he hadn't gone to a knee, there's a chance that, you're fighting forward while they're trying to tackle you. But since he's down on the knee, the moment he gets touched, he's down. So he ended up being under a yard short. It was so tight, and the Steelers ended up holding on and winning the game. You can see there his knee is down. So right when he gets contacted, he's not even able to push forward. Right when he gets touched, that's it. You're down. And the Steelers escaped with a 28-27 victory. Again, thanks so much for all of you that have been following along. I really appreciate all the comments, both on YouTube and on social media. Again, we're at STCF715 on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Thanks to those of you who follow along on Twitter on game days, Chiefs and Steelers games. We try to post a little bit depending on our availability. Thanks for all the engagement. Thanks for following along. Until next time.